This is an easy do-it-yourself project making miniature arts and crafts smocks for display in small-scale scenes, dollhouses, schools, classrooms, art rooms, stores, or clothing examples for 1/12 scale doll or figurine costumes. Suggested materials are listed in the description area below the video. Choose a thin cotton or similar fabric in a 6 by 4 inch piece or so. Make a pattern template with a 2 1/4 by 1 3/4 inch base piece and 2 pockets, 1 1/2 by 3/4 and the other a 3/4 inch square. From paper, I'm using 1/4 inch square graph paper. To make the neck area, center the pattern at the top. Make it the opening a 1/2 inch wide and 3/8 of an inch down, and then curve it slightly, as shown. To make the arm area on each side, cut down 1 1/4 inches from the top, leaving a 1 inch tab on each side as shown. Place the pattern pieces onto the fabric back sides, then draw or pin to the fabric and cut out. Now you can fold the big smock piece at the top where the shoulders are and then cut it out. Otherwise, cut out 2 of the smock pieces and glue at the top shoulders. But I cut on the fold and then come around. Then for the pockets, just place them on the fabric. You can pin them if you like. And then I draw around. I'm using a pen. That pen also could be one of my blender tops if you see at the top there another video. The silver part. Okay, so then I draw around the fabric. You could use a pencil or sewing marking pen. So just enough to see it, and that will be the back side of the fabric. Then I do the other pocket. Next, cut the pieces from the fabric. Then you can seal the edges of the fabric with glue using a toothpick. This will help prevent any fabric fraying. Then I put the fabric up in clamps raised up off the surface and let it dry. Before glue hemming the fabric edges, consider trimming choices on the neck, arm, pocket, and side areas. Using thin crochet yarn or kite string are 2 ideas. I'm going to use embroidery floss, 6 strands. In this example, I use 2 red, 2 yellow, and 2 green pieces at 30 inches long, and then I braid it. But it's easier for me if I cut them into 2 15-inch sections while I braid. I tie a simple knot on one end of the 6-strand set. Then I secure that thread with a clamp. Then I braid it by the 3 colors, by moving the left side over the center, then the right side over the new center, and repeating left to right until you reach the end of the embroidery floss strand. Tie another simple knot to secure the other end of the strand. Next, glue a 1/8 inch hem around both pockets. Place the front side of the fabric on the top of the work surface so that the back side of the fabric is upright. Add a glue strip to one side edge. Fold inward 1/8 of an inch and finger press it into a hem. Then go to the opposite side of that pocket hem. Add a glue strip to it. Fold it over 1/8 of an inch and finger press. Then add the glue to the remaining 2 opposite sides. Finger press, let dry. Repeat the process for the second pocket. The bright bottle caps in the background are my color inspiration for this project. To add hems to the smock piece, lay the front side of the fabric to the top of the work surface. Add a strip of glue to each end, fold inward 1/8 of an inch, finger press, and let dry. Fold the front sides together. Hold the fabric in place. we're going to glue those side little 1-inch tabs. So flip up the fabric, add a piece of glue in between the two front sides on that 1-inch area, spread it good, then press it down flat. Repeat for the other side. When the two inside 1-inch pieces are dry thoroughly, then carefully and gently flip it around from the two front sides on the inside to the back. The red smock shows the gold crochet yarn that I use for the trim around the pockets, neck, arm, and the lower side areas. I place the square pocket slightly under the rectangle pocket in the center, and the square pocket is about 1/2 inch down from the center of the neck. Before gluing the pockets onto the smock, glue the braided embroidery floss trim around the arm sides, the pockets, the neck circle, and the lower side slits. For the blue smock, I'm starting with the braided trim onto one side, and I start kind of at the bottom or the bottom of the arm, and I move all the way around. So I do little bits of the glue and press on the braid, and then till I get all the way around where the braid meets each other. Then I add some extra glue onto the braid so it doesn't unravel before I cut it. Repeat the gluing process for the other arm side. For the neck circle, I start in the back center, gluing little sections at a time, and then gently curving it around the edge, pressing, and then I glue a little bit more, and just making sure I get those curves around. I use my thumb to kind of hold it and press it into shape, and then I go all the way around till the braided sections meet at the back, and then I make sure I glue a little bit extra onto the braid so it doesn't unravel, and then I cut it. Now you could start the neck circle, on the top edge or on the side. I just chose to do it the back center because depending on the figurine or the doll that I want to put it on, I may have to cut that back vertically in half so that I can get it around the doll's arms and into the torso and the head. So I just did it that way just to make it a little bit easier by starting in there, and that way I have a starting point in that back center. For the rectangle pocket, I glue the two opposite edges, and then I add the braid, and then add a little extra glue before I cut the braid. Next, I add a little bit more braid trimming on the rectangle pocket, and I mark about 7/16 of an inch from each other to give myself 3 pockets all the way across. You could eyeball it if you want to, but I mark it, and then I glue it vertically as well before I do the horizontal top and bottom of the pocket. And again, add a little extra glue to the braid before you cut it so it doesn't fray. Finish the rectangle pocket with the top and bottom braided trim glued horizontally. Finger press it to the fabric and then let it dry. Then glue the trim around the square pocket, beginning on one side, then do the opposite side, and finish up doing the remaining 2 sides. Finger press the trim onto the fabric. To add the trim to the lower sides, carefully open the seams or gently pull apart about 1/4 inch from the bottom up. Then place glue on either side and press the trim into the fabric. Repeat the process for the other side slits. I decided to add the side slits after I made the smock, thinking it needed a little flare at the bottom end. So instead of gluing that inch section when you're putting the pieces together, glue 1/4 inch up from the smock bottom to the arm area in a 3/4 inch strip of glue instead of the 1 inch. But it still worked by me gently pulling up 1/4 inch and then gluing on the 2 side slits. After I have applied all of the braided trim to the smock piece, I end up with about 4 inches extra from the 30 inches that I had, which is good because I can use that in case I open up the back middle to trim that. To make the smock pocket decorations, I use small paper punch shapes with copy paper, and they're about 1/4 inch to 5/16 inches in the shape size. But check your pockets. You can also hand cut shapes or use tiny stickers and glue them, even if it is a sticker. I'm using a hand, crescent moon, sunburst, and star shapes for my pockets. To apply the decorations, glue on the back and press to the fabric pocket. For the square pocket, I place the hand shape at the top center because I'm going to overlap with the lower rectangle pocket. You could use different color papers for the different shape decorations, or color them with pencils or marker before you glue them. Now I glue the other decorations in the center spaces of the rectangle pocket. To glue the pockets to the front of the smock, I begin with the lower rectangle by gluing around 3 back edges, the 2 sides and the bottom. I add extra vertical strips in the back center about where the braided trim is on the front. I finger press it about 1/8 of an inch up from the bottom of the smock. Then I place glue around 3 back edges of the square pocket, placing a 1/8 inch inside of the rectangle pocket below. And then I finger press it down. The smock is completed and ready to add accessories to the pockets. You could purchase items, hand make them, or use a combination to fill the pockets. I purchased a packet of craft button embellishments in scissor, pencil, and crayon shapes. The colors are navy, purple, yellow, green, and orange. I removed the back thread hole with a small pliers. The packet had several extra pieces in the same colors, so I used permanent markers and acrylic paint to add more colors to the items. The extra navy crayon, for example, I end up coloring with a black marker. The orange color I use with a red marker to make it red, and then the pink, blue, brown, gray, and white crayons are made with acrylic paints. I used an extra yellow pencil and painted the body base white, and then I made the eraser top orange. Once the paint dried, I add a coat of matte sealer to all of those painted items. There are many ways to make pencils or crayon shapes by using small wire pieces, toothpicks, or even clay. I am using embroidery floss in this example. I coat a 6-strand, 6-inch piece of glue that I spread between my fingers, and then I roll it around the embroidery floss. Then I fold it over 2 times for a thickness of 18 strands. I twist it, and then I straighten it, and then I roll it on a flat surface. When the pieces are dry, I cut it into 1/2-inch lengths, and then I angle cut one end. To make a pencil, I used a white embroidery floss base, and then I paint the angle tip end or the nib end gray, and then I paint on the opposite end a 1/16 inch orange tip for the eraser. I make paintbrushes using silver floss, and then I add 1/16 to 1/8 inch in embroidery floss strands in black and brown to one end, and then I used acrylic paint on the other end in black and burgundy. Apply a thin coat of matte sealer to all the embroidery floss items. Once you have all the pocket items, arrange them and glue inside of the pockets. To display the smock, you could add a hanger. I have a prior hanger video if you want to make one. Or place a smock on a figurine or a doll. Make adjustments as needed. I hope you liked the video of making tiny arts and crafts smocks. Thank you so much for watching and sharing.